Thank you for joining me here for another lesson. In today's lesson, we're going to be taking a look at the credit management and credit control features within X3. So the credit management tools, basically these are the tools that allow for the organization to manage and mitigate risk associated with outstanding debts that their customers have due to them. Okay, so to this effect, let's go ahead and start off by taking a look at the customer master file. So down under common data, we're going to go to BPs, then into customers. So let's go ahead and start here on the management tab. So the first thing that I want to draw your attention to here is these credit controls. So there's three different options that we have here: check, no check, and hold. Okay, so when we have this set to the check option, basically what this amounts to is anytime a new sales order is placed in the system, X3 is going to go ahead and evaluate your total credit exposure that you have with the client versus the authorized credit line. So in the event that the total credit exposure exceeds the authorized credit line, X3 is going to go ahead and automatically place that sales order on hold. Okay. The next option that we have here is the no check option. So with the no check option, it's kind of just as it sounds. It doesn't do any credit checks when the sales order is being placed. So even if the organization had, $10 million worth of outstanding debt with a customer, X3 is going to go ahead and let that sales order be put into the system and fulfilled. Then the final option that we have here is the hold option. So this option is oftentimes used with clients that are high risk or maybe clients that are poor payers. With the hold option being enforced, X3 will go ahead and allow for you to enter in sales orders into the system, but those sales orders are going to be placed on hold and they can't be fulfilled until the credit manager or somebody with the proper user permissions comes along and releases the sales order. Okay, so those are our three settings there. You have your authorized credit line that you can come here and manually set in the system. This credit level down here, if you click on the action button, you have this calculation details option. And what this allows for you to see is basically the breakout of the credit exposure. So in this particular case, I can see I have down here, 263,000 in outstanding receivables with the customer. I have, close to 42,000 euro in invoices that are in the process of being generated, 67 euro in deliveries that are in process, and over 500,000 in open sales order backlog. Okay. Shortly here, I'm going to show you some different system parameters. And one of the system parameters I'm going to show you is how this total credit down here is calculated. Some organizations, when they're evaluating, credit exposure versus the authorized line, they only want the outstanding receivables to be taken into account. Other organizations want the complete profile inclusive of, orders that are in process. Okay, so we'll be taking a look at that shortly. Other things that are of interest here in this credit section is the credit insurance block. So some organizations may seek to obtain credit insurance against the risk of default for their more risky clients. So there's insurance agencies out there that will do that for you. So if you have such a policy set up for one of your clients or for your whole portfolio, basically you can come in here and specify the amount of insurance your policy provider gave you for this client, the date of the insurance policy, as well as specifying who it is that's insuring the policy. So that's a little bit on the management tab. Next here over on the Financials tab, one thing I want to draw your attention to is this risk customer that we can have set up. So where you might see this being leveraged is maybe your organization is conducting business with, say 3 different companies. And these 3 companies are all, say, sister companies of one another that are all subsidiaries of a corporate parent. Okay, so in that type of scenario, oftentimes all the billing and all the payments and all the risk is really bore by the corporate headquarters as opposed to each one of the individual companies. So in that type of model, what X3 allows for you to do is you can establish that corporate parent as its own business partner, then go ahead and set that corporate parent as the risk customer on each one of the subsidiaries. So when you go ahead and establish a credit line, you can then go ahead and establish a credit line at the parent level. And anytime you place a sales order with one of the subsidiaries, it'll work against that particular credit line. Okay. So that risk customer is an important concept. The final thing I want to show you here on the customer file is over here under the inquiry section. Let's go down under accounting, then to risk analysis. Okay, so this inquiry here can be helpful for a credit manager to evaluate the credit worthiness of your particular customers that you're doing business with. Okay, so I can come down here, for instance, on the open item schedule, and this is going to go ahead and present me with a listing of all the open invoices for the customer. I have the invoice details, then I have those invoices here broken out by their aging bucket. And down at the bottom of this, I get a summary, again, broken out by aging bucket here. So, if you have customers trending out past 90 days and so forth, to send up the red flags. Okay. The risk tab here, this tab you can come to see your total credit exposure. You have your authorized credit line here. Here, the accounting balance representing the outstanding receivables. Down in this section, your commercial risk, so this is like sales orders and backlog, orders that haven't been billed for yet, and so forth. So this kind of gives you a bit of a 360 view on the risk. Then finally, over here on the last operations, I can come in here, and this is company site specific here. But over here on the last operations, this gives you some metrics on, how long they've been a customer of yours, the last time they've placed an order, the last time you've made a shipment to them, last time you've invoiced them, when the last payment from them, the client was received, if it was a late payment. Then down in this section here, you have your average payment, or your number of late payments that you receive from the client, what their average days to pay are. Then over here in the early/late field, this gives you a number of days versus terms. So if you grant the client 30-day terms and they pay you on average, say in 37 days, this field right here would read 7. Okay, so that's a little bit on the customer, the credit setup, and the credit analysis tools that we have there. Next, let me go ahead and show you some important parameters in the system as it relates to credit. So let's start off by taking a look at the user parameters. So we're going to go to Setup Users and Users. Come under our parameters here. And the parameter I want to draw our attention to here is under the authorization block. And it's this one down here, this authorization to unlock order. Okay, SCDTUNL. So this particular parameter can either be set to a yes or a no. And What this does is for all users that should be authorized to release sales orders that currently have credit problems, whether the customer's on hold or the credit limit is being exceeded, those users should have this parameter set to yes. So again, this should probably only be your credit managers, maybe your, other people within the financial organization that should have those rights. For people, say, maybe in customer service and whatnot, that are inputting the orders but can't release the orders, you're going to want that parameter to be set to no on their user profiles. Okay, so that's one parameter. The next parameter I want to show you is under the parameter values. So set up general parameters, then here in the parameter values. And this is also in the Venn module here. And we're going to come under this option here for the OST, Authorized Credit Management. Okay, so these two parameters here, including loans in the total credit exposure, including standard sales orders in the total credit exposure. So either of these parameters can either be set to a yes or no. So this kind of goes back to what I was saying before. When sales orders are being placed into the system, and X3 is evaluating your credit exposure versus their authorized credit, do you want sales orders that are presently in backlog to be factored into that total? Or when you're evaluating your total exposure versus the authorized line, do you just want that to be based upon open receivables that you have with the customer? If it's that latter option, you're going to want these parameters to be set to no. Okay? So now let's go into the sales order function and show you how this system behaves when a sales order is being placed and the customer's over their credit line. So I'm going to come under my sales block and go to orders, then orders. Okay, so I know this particular customer's over their line, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this sales order. And what you're going to see here is when I do the create, go ahead and confirm the copy. Oh, there we go. So the sales order has been input, and now down here on my management tab, I have this credit status field. So you can see in this case that my credit limit has been exceeded. Okay, so if I'm a user that's authorized to release these sales orders, I can simply come over here and click on this lock. I get a little pop-up message confirming that I want to release the sales order. I say yes to that, and now the credit limit is flipped over to OK. Okay, so now at this point in time, this sales order can be put through the order fulfillment cycle. Okay, but so long as that credit was set to limit exceeded or is set to on hold, customer service, the warehouse, they would be unable to fulfill the sales order. Okay, so that's really all there is to releasing the sales orders. A couple final things in here to show you. One thing is under the reports. So if I come up here and come down to my reports, then reports. One useful report as it relates to credit control is this Encore report, okay, for customers exceeding their credit limit. So basically what you want to do when you run this report is you want to specify it for the company that you're running it for. And you could do it for a range of customers or just leave those parameters blank and run it wide open. And basically what this report will return to you is a listing of all customers that are presently over their credit line. Okay. So this might be a a useful report for a credit manager to run, every morning or once a week to, see what customers, need attention. Okay. So one final thing that I want to show you here as it relates to the credit controls is under our AP/AR accounting menu, under open items, we have this customer hold and customer release function. Okay, so let's go into the customer hold. Now, what this function enables for you to do is basically it allows for X3 to kind of take a look at the current credit status of the customers, and if the customers are in a bad status, go ahead for you and automatically flip them over to on hold. Okay, so you can do that on a couple different bases here. One basis that you can do it on is based upon payments. So that is to say, I could come in here and say, for instance, maybe my policy is if I have any customers for which they have invoices that are 15 days past due and maybe in excess of $500, I want all those customers to be placed on hold automatically. That's just a strict rule that our organization has. Okay, so when I run this, I could do it initially in simulation mode to see what the list looks like. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's the listing of all. If I was to execute this in real mode, this is a register of all the customers that would now be placed on hold due to their latency in payments. Okay. Another way that you can run this particular function is based just upon their current credit status. So again, this would basically just take a look at the outstanding credit that's on the customer's account versus their line, and if they were in excess, it's going to go ahead and put those customers on hold for you. Okay, so if I wanted to run this in real mode here, I just go ahead and untick the simulation here, come over here, click on OK. Then X3 would go ahead and automatically flip the customers from the check status over to the on hold status. Okay, so that's useful to you if you kind of manage your credit with a broad brush. Now on the flip side of the coin here, we have that customer release function, okay, which basically just does the exact opposite. So again, I could come in here and say, okay, if I have customers that are presently on hold, but all of their receivables are now within 10 days, I want to go ahead and put them back in good standing again. I could go ahead and set up these parameters accordingly, click on OK, and that'll go ahead and automatically flip for me the status from on hold back to check for all the customers that fall within these bounds. Okay, so those are a lot of the credit control tools within X3 in a nutshell. I hope this video has been of help to you. If so, I'd ask you to please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to inbox me. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.